What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tablesetters covering all things Major League Baseball. As always, I'm Steve. Join my tag team partner, Devin. What's going on, man?
What's up? We're in season 2, officially episode 75, but season 2 of Tablesetters, a baseball podcast. If you've been listening since the beginning, wow, thank you so much. And if you're just jumping in, thank you as well. I hope you guys enjoy it or are still enjoying it. For me, this is a special one. I just feel like opening weekend of baseball. Again, I've said this before, not a big drinker on the show. I enjoy myself a beverage, but on the show, I think maybe I've drank a beer or two, I don't know, 3 times. But today, going dugout mugs, a little shameless plug there. Let's go Mets on the dugout mug. Sam Adams, shout out to you guys. Yeah, it's Oktoberfest, a little late in the game for that, but I'm trying to use that as a good omen. October, Mets combination, like let's get going. So a little more in the mug there, and I'm going to enjoy a beverage here while we record episode 75.
So Devin with some ASMR recording and pouring some beer in there, Oktoberfest. You said a little bit late, but maybe it's a little bit early as well to get ready for the season. And again, if you guys want to support the show, you guys go to Dugout Mugs and leave a obvious order in there. Use code TS10 for 10% off of your order at checkout. We have the Yankee one. We have the Rays one over here at Ryan Bass. You have the Mets one. You guys can get your very own, and not just a thing to drink out of. You could have one of those bottle openers that's half a baseball. It's fantastic. So a lot of great products over there with our partners with Dugout Mugs. If you also want to support the show, as I was saying before, you leave a 5-star review on whether it's Apple, Spotify, wherever you consume your podcast, or go to Instagram or Twitter at Tablesetters Pod is where you can engage with us. We're close to 2,000 followers on Twitter. As Devin mentioned, we're in our second season. We're looking to bypass that and beyond. There's a lot of exciting things, and there's a palpable energy around baseball. A lot of things to talk about, where to even start. But at the very least, we're all happy that, first of all, this weekend in New York, we had very warm weather. Today kind of took a turn for the worse, but it was like a mini summer at Yankee Stadium. I was there. It was like, felt like we were in the middle of June, not in the beginning of April, end of March. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that crazy Saturday that you spent at Yankee Stadium and what a bunch of the rest of us watched on TV. Just madness there, and it kind of continued today. We thought maybe with the cold weather it'd slow down a little bit, but not exactly. Yeah, and the cool thing about this is we've been doing all these off-season episodes, which we really enjoyed. We didn't really know what to expect going into the off-season, and it turns out we had a ton of material to work with, like endless material. But now as the season kicks off, it is less speculation. I'm sure we'll still have some of that, but less speculation and more of let's talk about what we see on the field, what's going on here on the diamond. So we're adjusting back into how we started with some segments and opening say where we kind of just kick off the show with something on our mind. Eventually we get to the meat of the order. Some of these episodes we'll have the take a pitch or swing away, which is kind of like a buy or sell. We'll talk about some polls that we put up on X and Twitter and things like that. So if you were familiar with that kind of format of the show, I'm not saying we will stick to it 100%. We like to kind of play around on here, but you'll hear more of that than you did in the off season, I'm guessing.
Oh, for sure. Before Devin gets to his opening say, we want to make sure we are paying tribute to our newly shaped microphones, the Torpedo that an MIT scientist had put together for us. It captures the sound at the right pitch. So if you guys are hearing us sounding great, we're not sure of the legality of the thing, but we want to make sure we sound just as good for you guys. So the Torpedo shaped microphones are in shape for season 2 of Tablesetters.
Yeah, if you're new to the show, I actually have a really high-pitched voice, like super squeaky, but I moved the weight of the microphone just closer to the top, and suddenly I have this deep bass that I'm going with.
The key is to get people that are so smart, they probably had nothing to do with baseball. They're reading a book somewhere, and they say, "Hey, you over there, reading the book, you look nice. You're very good at understanding problems. Come over here and take a look at what we have going on in baseball." How many times do we see this? And again, we'll talk about the Torpedo thing, but all these front offices bringing these guys and girls from other walks of life, and somehow they discover and find solutions for problems we didn't even know we had.
Is that the bar though? Just someone that's reading a book, like for smart people?
I just
like
picture
that guy's reading a book.
I picture someone spending their free time. They walk in a library and look at a guy like he's reading the Britannica Encyclopedia, and you're like, "You come over here. Some solve this problem. We have an issue scoring with runners in position. Make sure we're able to rally later in games. How do we get to this pitcher? It's the guy reading a book."
This is way off the mark and off base here, but it always cracks me up. One of my favorite things that goes around the internet is how LeBron James like walks into games like always reading a book, but he's like always on the first page. And it's like, is this dude actually read these books, or is he just is it just a look? And no hate on LeBron James, but it is a funny thing when
No,
you
come on,
gather all the video that they
come
actually have of him doing that.
It's like what Goodman walking down the stairs reading the dictionary upside down. It's like you caught me breaking a mental sweat too. Dodgeball is absolutely classic, man. 2003. That is peak entertainment in cinema.
There you go. But let's get back on track here. We'll go with our opening say. Do we hit the organs? I'm a little rusty here. Do we hit the organs for the opening say, or is that just me to the order?
Let's hit him. It's opening weekend. Let's hit him.
All right. So I think Steve and I on this first episode of season 2, or episode 75 overall, I think we're going to try to mostly be positive and have a good time here. It's just a few days into the season, so I'm going to try to get some of the negative stuff out of the way at the top. All right, I think that's a good idea. My opening say is the MLB TV issue. All right, if you were excited but maybe on a train home like myself, as the opening day games were beginning, or something where you needed MLB TV, the app to stream your team's games, or you wanted to jump around the league and watch some games that you don't have available, on in your cable subscription or your streaming subscription elsewhere. There was a lot of frustration. Twitter was absolutely blowing up. MLB TV just could not get going, crashed for apparently what I've read, 85% or around 85% of users for between an hour and a half. The MLB app as a whole was also not working for about a half hour. And maybe what was worse, like I feel like one thing I've noticed about people in this country, or just maybe just baseball fans in general, is if you are honest and own up to your mistake relatively quickly, like people will move on pretty quickly. The news cycle is pretty damn fast where things get forgotten about, but especially if you show a little concession. It took them like 48 hours to respond at all. Tons of complaints, obviously. Like you could have, if you did it early, you might have been able to make a little joke about it and moved on. But they ended up sending out an email to subscribers, and they offered $10 off any purchase of $25 or more. So they still want to make a profit here on MLBshop.com. So the outrage and response it didn't work out very well. There's still people, certain accounts on Twitter that have pretty big followings, that are just not letting it go. And I get it. Like they want more. And this has been the problem with MLB is at like a peak right now. They are. And I think fans get worried because it's like, we don't want MLB as baseball fans to squander what they have. Like so many crazy young stars and things like that. The game's in a good place. The rule changes have been mostly very good and positive and great results and popular. But like there's these little things, like they don't have the deal with ESPN anymore. And you can put the blame on either side, maybe both sides, but any way you look at it, that's one thing. Now you have this MLB TV thing. Obviously, the TV rights and all those things is a situation we've talked about a lot, and it's still kind of being figured out. There's some signs that it looks like they're going to come out of that pretty well. And now there's the the CBA looming and talk of a strike and a work stoppage. All of that stuff scares baseball fans a little bit because everything's so good right now. So we just want them to be able to iron these things out. People talk about like the 10 days in between the series in Japan and the real opening day and all that stuff as these little problems of like, you want to make sure you don't lose the general fan here. So just another thing on top of all that, MLB, you got to make sure you have your stuff together when you're streaming this. It reminds me of the Netflix situation with the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. Like if you're like putting this all over the place, it's going to be big. You better be ready for it and test the crap out of it to know you have it down pat. And I guess it shows baseball's popularity. The MLB app was overwhelmed, but shame on them for not figuring that out and having a better response after something went wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. And the silver lining of it is that the accessibility was there are a lot of people looking to access the app, but the only way you can keep and maintain the fan base is if they have the ability to watch the games. And there was frustration on my end as well, obviously in the local market, unable to watch the Yankees on the MLB TV app, but I was trying to listen to just the radio and I couldn't get the WFAN feed to go on there. And I had to troubleshoot it. Eventually I got it back on and it was just back and forth. I was trying my way to, so if you guys are familiar trying to listen to WFAN on your phone, you have to download the app and sometimes they black out the game because of whatever, you know how it is with the copyrights and all those bylaws that go in there. But it was frustrating, especially I was looking forward to it, hopped on a train. The game was starting around the time I was getting on the train and just looking forward to it. Luckily, I was able to get home and catch from the fifth inning on, just watching on TV. And it was very weird too, just watching a national televised game for the Yankees on opening day, not having the familiar voices of Michael K and like what I'm used to. It was cool. It felt like pomp and circumstance, like almost like a postseason game because of the coverage. I know some of the crowd mic was a little bit down. I heard people during, the opening day ceremonies, and they were saying it was a little bit low. So it sounded like Yankee Stadium wasn't as hyped as they really were in real life. But having been there on Saturday, there's a fan base that is palpable. They're excited to defend that AL pennant. It was really, really awesome to see that. But overall, man, a lot of baseball to consume. Staggered as you will. I felt like I was able to just kind of take in all the games because of the just how the times worked. There wasn't a lot of bleed over. There was some games that kind of staggered into each other, which was nice. But I don't know, gone are the days where you felt like all the games were on at once. And maybe, we're going to get that. And it's weird to have even today having your Mets were off today, which was weird on a Sunday.
Yeah, Mike Francesa was flabbergasted. If you haven't seen the clip, we put it on our Twitter, so you can go to our Tablesetters at Tablesetters Pod on Twitter and find it. There's a great clip from the Mike Francesa podcast, I guess today, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't know, but it's about a 2.5-minute video of Mike, God bless him, just not being able to fully believe that the Mets are not playing on Sunday. And I'm not even going to try to recreate it. It's just Mike Francesa at Mike Francesa's best. It's why we all love him, for weird reasons like that he probably doesn't understand. But yeah, just couldn't believe it. And I will say another thing. Listen, we'll forgive MLB because we always do, because we love the damn product so much. Our friends at Eat 'em Up Pod, the Detroit Tigers podcast, Jordan Hall, who we had on here months ago, they posted a little meme that for me cracked me up. I think it was after a Tigers loss, but it could be very relatable for the whole MLB TV situation as well. If there's any Curb Your Enthusiasm fans, Larry David fans out there, there's this clip from a season or two ago when he's arguing, as he always does, with one of his close friends, just screaming at each other. And as he's about to slam the door and leave their house, he says, "Fuck you, and I'll see you tomorrow," like in the same breath. And then that's how we all feel when our team loses. That's how we feel when MLB TV screws us. Sorry for the profanity, but it is a quote there. And it was perfect. I just couldn't stop laughing just at that. So shout out to them for finding the absolute perfect meme. And I love the Curb Your Enthusiasm callback there.
Yeah, there's nothing like baseball. It's this feeling of just, and it's back, and it coincides with warmer weather and soundtrack of our summers. And as hyperbolic as it might sound, that is what we look forward to. And all we want, MLB, is the accessibility to the games. The least you can do, find a way to increase bandwidth. This should have been in place, and shame on them for underestimating the popularity of opening day. I mean, it has a different bandwidth as well, because you got to remember, you talked about it before in our group chat, that SNY is available on there. Some local broadcasts are available
it's a
with
little
TV
weird
subscriptions. So I think there was a level of a lot more people on MLB TV, which is a good thing. That means more people are trying to consume baseball on the day, and hopefully the popularity increases. But a lot of ballparks filled up. A lot of people took off for work and from school to be there. Really damn cool to see just baseball back in full swing, and the storylines start to overcome us like a tidal wave, as it always does. And weekend after weekend, we start to be overcome with the news, and it's fantastic to be on this roller coaster with you.
Yeah, man, I felt it at work too. For those of you who aren't familiar, I'm a teacher, and so Thursday just so happened to be, this is like, it was Spirit Week for our school, so every day is a different theme. And Thursday, whether it was on purpose or not, planned, I'm not sure, by administration, but it was like Sports and Hobbies Day. So everyone's wearing jerseys. I wore my Pete Alonso blue Mets jersey from his rookie year, and we have a lot of Mets fans. There was one class that came in, and I gave a little joking thumbs down to someone with a Yankee jersey, and that just lit a fire under them when they came into my class. And all period long, there were like conflicting "Let's go Yankees, let's go Mets" chants. And It was kind of fun. Like, I had to try to calm them down to get anything done. And then to pour more gasoline on it, my student teacher is a Boston fan. He was wearing a Celtics jersey, but also a Red Sox fan. So we had that going on too. So there was a lot of back and forth. But as a baseball fan, you got to love it. Kind of cool. So baseball's back in full swing. That's for sure.
And with that being said, let's hop into the meat of the order and talk about all the news around baseball. All right, so we joked about it at the top of the show, but the tip of everybody's tongue has to do with these torpedo bats and really the power surge from the New York Yankees exploding out of the gate for the 2025 season, opening their season with a 3-0 sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers and let's be honest, smashing their way into the record books with historic power. And behind it all, Devin, is a new piece of equipment quietly introduced this offseason that we're affectionately calling the Torpedo Bat. So essentially, before we get into the history of the Torpedo Bat, all the story that was breaking down, of course, I was at Yankee Stadium sitting in some nice seats under the warm weather in the Bronx. And man, first 3 pitches against Nestor Cortez, he was greeted very
Welcome
rudely.
back.
Welcome back. And also got to remember, last pitch he threw in October, I mean, that was a pitch that we want to take back and we don't want to look at, but that also was the first pitch to Freddie Freeman. First 3 pitches to the first 3 batters go out of the ballpark, and the Yankees look like either they A, knew what was coming, or B, were just excited to be up there, and just nothing on Nestor Cortez's fastball. It was just straight down the middle like it was a softball league.
Yeah, not a great idea to just continue to throw it down the middle to some of these guys, but crazy to watch. Like I didn't have it on right away, and I kind of got wind of it on social media and then through our Discord group chat for our fantasy league as well. Obviously, you were at the game, so there's a lot of back and forth after that. Just incredible. And on top of that, like most of this conversation, I think is gonna be about the bats and the home runs. But I made the comparison like, wait, they also made 5 errors? The Yankees, that is? They hit 9 home runs and made 5 errors? Like, that sounds like a beer league softball game, like around the corner. Some guys hitting some bombs and then people kicking the ball around when it's hit to them. Just wild. Like, I don't know if you'll ever see that combination again. 9 home runs and 5 errors. Like, probably not in our lifetime. Just insane. I don't know. I mean, I think to me, the talk is the bats, obviously, the Torpedo Bats, which we'll get into. The barrage kind of continued today. Like before we talk about a little bit more of the science behind the bats, like I think more came out about it because obviously there's a lot of conjecture online and people talking about it. And they went right out there. Judge hits another one. Jazz hits 2. Ben Rice gets into the act as well. And what came out today, which changed the conversation a little bit, is like not every player is using this on the Yankees. In fact, Aaron Judge, who is the stud now at 4 home runs, is apparently not using them. Jazz is, and clearly it's working for him. I know we know Anthony Volpe is, and clearly it's working for him. I don't have the full list of who is and who is not, and who knows how that's going to change. Some people may join the party. But clearly this is more than the bats. Like the Yankees are ready to go. I heard some talk about like spring for them just ended at the perfect time. And that's a conversation we probably need to have more. We talk about it around the playoffs sometimes about how the teams that do the best in the playoffs are not only the teams, not always the teams with the best record, but the teams that just go into the postseason feeling good, healthy, and hot. And I think the Yankees may have just come in here super confident, obviously motivated because they hear the noise that they're not going to be as good this year, especially with all the pitching injuries. They hear the noise and they're motivated guys. There are a bunch of former MVPs on that team. So been there, done that. But as a Yankee fan, man, like what better way to start the season against a good team in the Brewers? Just pure dominance for 3 games straight.
So 15 home runs in 3 games, which ties the MLB record. The 2006 Tigers held that at one point, and the 36 total runs, setting a new franchise record for a 3-game season opening stretch. 9 home runs in Saturday alone, which is a new Yankees record and one shy of the MLB record held by the 1987 Toronto Blue Jays. And the total home run distance in that game, 3,695 feet. As you mentioned before, 12-3 win today, completing the sweep of Milwaukee. Jazz Chisholm, Aaron Judge, and Ben Rice. You also mentioned before the players using it. As of right now, we have 4 players of note using it. Anthony Volpe is probably the biggest name on everybody's list. He's a believer. He struggled last year getting jammed inside. Volpe was an early adopter of this Torpedo Bat. He launched 2 home runs through the first 3 games, and he said the concept makes so much sense. He's bought in. Cody Bellinger, who didn't just start using this with the Yankees. He used a prototype during BP with the Cubs last year. He's fully committed. You go back and look at some of these articles. There's some articles from 2024 talking about Cody Bellinger. They were bringing light of it because of the Stanton injury, because Lenny, as we're affectionately knowing him as the MIT scientist over here, Aaron Leonard, he was getting blame earlier in the week for Stanton's injury. And that's, everyone was like, oh, Lenny's bad here. We don't like the physicist from MIT. He's no longer here anymore, but they're blaming the 2 elbow injuries on this because he's using this model bat. And now he's a hero, but he's no longer with the Yankees. Everyone's like, where's Lenny? We want to talk to him. He is working with the Marlins right now. And he's a coach on the Marlins right now. He had left the Yankees. But some of the background on this dude, he was working the Atlantic League as well, but then found his way to the Yankees, and now he's with the Marlins. And I believe, not sure if he was fired because of the injury stuff, but he found his way on the Marlins. He's a physicist from MIT, He worked for the performance team for the Yankees, and the Torpedo Bat was his unique design, which is really, just as Devin mentioned before, more mass in a concentrated near area of the hands with the barrel shaped like a bowling pin. And the redistribution of wood is part of where the hitters uniquely make contact most. So each of these bats, like I mentioned before, Volpe, Bellinger, also Chisholm and Rice, who all use them as well, they all look different and they're unique to the player. So it's not just one size fits all, try this Torpedo Bat out. Volpe has his own, which means fewer miss hits, more barrel balls, and really ideally more home runs. The other quote from Volpe was interesting. He had said, and I heard John Boy say this on Talking Baseball, or was it on Talking Yanks, either one, just about that he believes it might be placebo, just makes him feel good. So, I mean, we'll see where this goes at this point. But Leonard, I mean, his contribution is this, but he joined the Yankees back in 2018. He spent years researching and developing the new bat design. It came out last year. Several Yankee players used it. Volpe used them in games last year. And then also we saw some of them being used this year. Stanton used them last year as well. Didn't become any sort of news. I don't know why it didn't pop up, why no one looked at it. There were articles about this. But this dude holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Michigan, a PhD in physics from MIT. He was a professor there before transition to baseball. Like I said, he's reading a book somewhere in the library, and they said, "Hey, dude, come over here. What are you reading about?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm rereading Lord of the Rings." And he's like, "No, put that down. We're going to talk about baseball here." Then
how would you shape the bat? How would you shape the bat?
Exactly.
Draw a picture real quick.
How would Gandalf shape the bat? And he came over, and he was coaching the Atlantic League, and then at a Montana community college, he comes over, and now he's in the major leagues. And the other thing is, too, outside of all this, and we'll talk about really what it means and should it be legal, et cetera, MLB got ahead of this. These were submitted last year. It complies with the Major League Baseball regulations, including the 2.61-inch maximum barrel diameter with a 42-inch length limit. So this raises the question of, I mean, we saw Minnesota using it today. All these teams are going to be using it. You mentioned a tweet that we weren't sure if they're being serious or not, that Atlanta Braves are going out there. Eventually, when someone has an edge, it becomes an even playing field, and we're going to see every team adopt this if it works. So it's not really the quote from Milwaukee kind of sums it up best for me. And in the post game, Nestor Cortez was asked about it. Obviously, he missed his media day after the game, so everyone's like, "What's going on with Nestor? Is he upset?" He was nothing but complimentary today. He made up for it before the game. But the quote from the Brewers was, it's not the magician, it's not the wand, it's the magician using it. And that's what it sounds like. Everyone is kind of accepting that. As you mentioned, the Yankees, there's offensive fireworks in those bats, and you add on top of it a little bit of the scientific background, ability to apply innovative thinking to them. It seems like the best mix to start your season, not to mention a team that's motivated by what happened last year.
Yeah, Rule 3.02A, if you want to read more about that. Steve did mention the 2.61 inches in diameter, 42 inches in length, but it goes on to describe a little bit more if you want to read it. It's interesting because it's right there. You mentioned Cody Bellinger, like more proof that these bats may really work for some guys. His home run on Saturday was 451 feet. Notable because that's the furthest of his career. And Cody Bellinger has hit a solid amount of home runs in his life. So everyone wants to say Cody Bellinger is going to be great in Yankee Stadium because he can hit that short porch. Well, 451 feet is 451 feet anywhere, and that's going out. So I found that interesting. The Anthony Volpe stuff, it made me think of like how many more home runs would Derek Jeter have hit? He kind of that inside out swing, like known for that. How many more would he have hit if it was him? Most people have, I think, accepted this once they knew it was legal. I haven't seen a ton of stuff. I've seen a little bit. I haven't seen a ton of stuff of people like being like, "Oh, the Yankees, of course, are allowed to do this." One of the Brewers pitchers, Trevor McGill, their closer, was a little bit upset, basically saying that because it's the Yankees, they're allowed to do this. I would think that after reading up on all the stuff that's coming out today about it, I would think he's going to regret that quote a little bit. Here it is. It says, "I think it's terrible." Oh, wait, no. Okay. The Yankees custom-shaped bats are terrible. This is what Trevor McGill thinks, but the league will let it slide. "I think it's terrible," he told the New York Post, "of the bat shape everyone's been talking about since the Yankees' 20-run beatdown in Milwaukee. We'll see what the data says. I've never seen anything like it before. It might be Bush League. It might not be, but it's the Yankees, so they'll let it slide." So, I mean, sounds a little bit bitter. I mean, the interesting thing, Bush League's an interesting term because Bush League does not mean illegal. So there are things that tend to be legal but just frowned upon in baseball. So it'll be interesting to see now, how do the teams in the league see this? Do they see this as something now everyone's just going to want to do, copycat league, like we see in a lot of sports? Like, all right, let's jump on the bandwagon until they tell us we can't do it anymore. Or is it going to be frowned upon by certain organizations and they're not going to touch it? Like Bush League to me is like somebody has a no-hitter going late in the game or a perfect game very late, and you try to bunt the ball for a base hit. Like, to me, that's Bush League. Technically, nothing wrong with it. It's just a little bit like, come on, man. Like, yeah, come on. We're in like the 8th, 9th inning, and you're trying to break it up with like a bunt for a base hit. Some people have no problem with it. Might be seen as a little Bush League, things like that. But this one, I mean, it's legal. With that being said, there are things where all these professional sports have an outcome they want. Like, they want their game to be presented in a certain way. You know, we saw it with the shifts. Nothing was illegal about it. But eventually, people felt like it was hurting the entertainment value of the game. So the players weren't doing anything to adjust, which they definitely could have. That's a whole nother conversation. But so they made a rule about it, and they did get some entertainment value back, I'll be honest. The tush push or the brotherly shove in football is being compared to this, where, interestingly enough, the Eagles are still pretty much the only ones who can do it successfully constantly. But there is talk about people saying, like, this thing needs to be banned. But right now it's within the rules. Like, this has happened in sports. Curved sticks in hockey years ago. There was a team that was like curving their sticks. You would know, you're a bigger hockey fan than I am. Yeah. Like doing big time curvatures that they had to put a limit on how much you could do that. So things like that. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. You mentioned the tweet by Foul Territory. I didn't get to watch the clip they posted with it, so I wasn't exactly sure if it was sarcastic or not, saying that the Braves put in an order for these after seeing the result. But even if it is sarcastic, I know they just got shut out for a second time by the Padres. Pretty shocking, 2 nights in a row. But even if that is sarcastic, just because the Braves are struggling on offense in the beginning of the season, like, there are definitely teams, if they're not already doing this, they're looking into it. They have people on it right now. There's no doubt about it.
Well, Trevor McGill did go on to call it a slow pitch softball bat. That was the other criticism he had. But his own teammate, Reese Hoskins, came out and said he wants to try them out. And it's clear right now that there's a divide and everyone's paying attention to it. And it is a copycat league, as you mentioned. I was going to make the comparison to, you know, the tush push, the brotherly shove. And as you mentioned, the Philadelphia Eagles have mastered it. We saw the Wildcat offense. The Dolphins use it, but it wasn't like they were winning games with it, but people were trying to do it, but no one could do it as well as Ronnie Brown and what the Dolphins were doing. And it remains to be seen if you get the right person that's able to administer this in your organization, they're going to at least try it. The one thing I will say in defense of it, and I had said this in our group chat, was just, why is it okay for pitchers to develop all these Frankenstein pitches in a lab, and you can all try these new things out, but hitters are not able to adjust in any way? They have to do things in an archaic way in a vacuum. It's about time that hitters are allowed to adjust with analytics and science in mind. Everyone wants to talk about the launch angle and the style of swing and batting stances, etc. If this is legal, and we are to believe it is, because now it's under scrutiny under a microscope that they're looking at it, and it still continues to be legal, especially that you said with Rule 3.02, this is something that should be embraced by hitters, because with all these hitters in mind, we talk about hitting by the label, and Volpe was all over the broadcast yesterday, and going back and watching highlights, he was the focus of this because his swing is conducive, because this guy was getting jammed. And if you're a Yankee fan or you watch a lot of Yankee games, this guy was getting jammed in that spot. And now you're putting the mass distribution of the barrel in that spot. It just makes sense to redistribute it if you're able to do this. And it's a custom made bat for his swing. Yep. It's interesting. It definitely opens up the philosophical conversation, as you said before. Is it Bush League? Is it allowed? Should it be allowed? Et cetera, et cetera. But the conversation continues. And the real thing is, everyone's talking about it because the Yankees had this power surge. And last year, as I mentioned, we had people using bats like this. Giancarlo Stanton was using it, and that's why we talked about it. And he switched back because of the conversation that there was a direct link between that bat and his injury and what we saw here. Like we said, Bellinger was using with the Cubs. This is not uniquely a Yankee thing. This is a baseball science thing that the Yankees seemingly mastered, at least for the first weekend, 3 games in. We know they're going to get cold eventually. They're not going to hit all these home runs on this pace. It's not going to happen that way. So people are going to start to question whether it works or not. And the league will adapt. It always does. It always adapts to all these adjustments. And I'd imagine that we're going to have these questions and say, it was the latest thing that worked for a little bit. Pitchers adopted a strategy, front offices got out there, science adapts here, and usually the pitching is ahead of the curve of the hitters. That's how it usually goes.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up my thoughts here because we have a lot of other things we want to talk about. And clearly, we could talk about this one for a while. But your point about pitching getting all this science behind it and all the biomechanics and pitching labs and computer systems, things like that is well taken, and I mostly agree with you there. Whereas like Trevor Plouffe of John Boy came out and made a good point saying like literally like most of these guys like they don't get fitted for bats or anything. Like they just like, oh, that feel good. Like, all right, let's take some swings with it. Whereas like golf, like I'm a casual golfer. But so much goes into, even as a casual golfer who sucks, like so much goes into getting like equipment that might help you. You can go get fitted, like regular run of the mill dudes are going to get fitted for drivers and irons and even putters with all this computer knowledge and taking a ton of swings and seeing your swing speed and things like that. Whereas like there's so many analytics, but apparently not a lot of people are using it to get like fitted for bats at that level, which to me is shocking. Maybe it's not completely true, but I'm not shocked that that is happening now. The only pushback I'll say on the whole thing of like, why can pitchers get all this help towards their craft? The only difference I see is the pitcher's tool is their body, just their body. There's no extra equipment to help make this ball go faster, and they pay the price. With all these arm injuries. For a hitter, I think it's a little more sour taste in some people's mouth and a little bit like, I don't know if I like this taste yet, because it's equipment. And it's like, do we want that? Is the equipment doing too much work for them? Right? Like I think of my dad's grew up as a pretty good tennis player in high school and things like that. And they used to use those like wooden rackets. Like he still has them at home. I've tried to use them before when I played tennis with him, and it's like a whole different thing. The faces are so much smaller. The power you get is like very little. And now there's these giant faces on the tennis rackets. Everybody and their brother can serve over 100 miles per hour. And like it's just, he said it's changed the game where tennis used to be a lot of strategy, running to the net and trying to play the net and things like that, just quickness and intelligence, where now, especially the men's game, is just smashing the ball back and forth until somebody messes up. And he said he partly enjoys watching women's tennis more because they have slightly less power and there still is more skill involved. And so I do worry about that a little bit. Like I want my players to get way better because of them, not just because of the equipment. With that being said, I do like that there's this science, like Volpe said, like going into, well, how does his swing look instead of a one size fits all? So I'm undecided where I stand at it. I don't think the Yankees or anyone else that is using it are doing anything wrong, but whether I want the game to step in and adjust the parameters a little bit, I think I'll make that decision either later in the season or at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's more than fair. I think that's the conversation everyone needs to have. I mean, if you look at social media, and Twitter sometimes tends to lean towards being a cesspool. So when you look at the responses and everyone wants to put
Conspiracy stuff.
yeah, exactly. That it's all about the Yankees, and Trevor McGill is feeding that flame with his quote. And there are people out there that just hate the Yankees that are looking to just dump on it. And instead of just being like, what we saw was masterful. And I understand the conversation, it is blurring on gray area, of course, but as you said, we have a 3-game sample size to look at. And going forward, I think inevitably, as you mentioned, the adjustments will even out and we will start to see the scope of really it could just be, man, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Yankees had their number. I mean, it could be a part of that as well. And you mentioned some of the numbers, and you can't help but think that the bat played some part. But as you mentioned, the biggest guy in that lineup, the MVP of the Yankees lineup that is there, Aaron Judge, is not using that bat. So it's more of an approach thing and strategy rather than the bat itself. Because, okay, if you put Judge in there and every guy that hit a home run was using the bat, okay. But Judge went out there and hit 3 home runs on Saturday, and he wasn't using the bat. So it's not just a torpedo thing. It's a Yankee thing. And I also think they came out there and, lost in all of this conversation. And it maybe lost on most people, but not on me, is the motivation on Aaron Judge. This guy has come ready to play. And think about the slow start he had last season, where we were wondering, all right, where's Aaron Judge? How long is it going to take him to get back into form? Think about the pace he's on right now and how he finished the season. And of course, you can't keep up this pace all year, but finishing almost with 60 home runs again last year, and he had pretty much non-existent April. Man, if he keeps up this pace, I mean, right now, if he ended the month, that'd be a good month, right? Like if for what he did in the first 3 games. So it's gonna be interesting to watch him, and he's on pace right now for magical stuff as he is. And Michael Kay was saying this on the Yankee broadcast. we're approaching territory where Aaron Judge is to be considered as one of the greatest Yankee hitters of all time. And that's not hyperbolic
Yeah.
at this point.
No.
This guy's going out there and doing special things. And I sat next to a complete stranger at the Yankee game, and I was talking to this guy, very nice man. And I was just like, after the third home run, I looked at him, I was like, dude, I mean, the Yankees are just lucky to have this guy. There's nothing else you can say. It's just fantastic to watch. We're watching something special. It's unreal.
Yeah, in an alternate universe, Arson Judge is lighting it up in San Francisco right now. So, like, count your lucky stars that John Heyman was wrong. No name change and no San Francisco. So, who knows?
Yeah, well, let's go over to this piece of news here, and it's hard to not mention the name Shohei Ohtani in an episode. I think we have to meet the quota, and here we are right now saying Shohei Ohtani here. He threw a bullpen session, so the Dodgers are still non-committal on whether he's going to be pitching and what the timeline looks like. But at the very least, Ohtani took the mound, a meaningful step towards him pitching again. And the three-time MVP threw a 20-pitch bullpen session, consistent solely of fastballs. The first time he's thrown up a mound since February 25th. Obviously, the throwing routine has been happening on flat ground, but this marks the beginning of a longer ramp-up process. No end in sight. Obviously, he's got the balance of two roles, and there's no urgency. That's the Dodgers' luxury they have here. Starting five that includes Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Roki, of course. We'll talk about his struggles a little bit. Several other arms, of course, waiting there for them. They don't have to rush him back, but as baseball fans, like, we want the two-way player again. When does he come back? It's interesting to see them ramping him up when there's so much emphasis on the offense and keeping him healthy.
Yeah, there's still part of me that thinks the days of him being both are going to come to an end quicker than maybe most people think. I don't know where he fits in the rotation this year. I still could see him end up being a kind of specialty kind of thing, whether it be out of the bullpen, opener kind of thing like that. And they've been very, like, they've played it close to the vest. Like, no one really knows how they're going to do that. Like you said, they're taking their sweet time because they can't afford to. I mean, we're 5 games into the season for the Dodgers, and Tyler Glasnow hasn't thrown yet, like hasn't started a game. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, I would say wake me up when there is significant news about him. Until then, let's just enjoy him as a hitter. And I do think there's going to be one day not too far away where we are just permanently enjoying him only as a hitter. I don't know. It's a gut feeling. Like, I don't have a bunch of stats or data right now beside me to support that. It's just a gut feeling, especially if they do try to make him a full-time starter one more time and there's a little bit of wear and tear again. I think eventually they're going to be like, all right, let's step back. And you might have been like, when he first signed that contract, there might be people out there saying they can't do that because they're paying him as if he's two guys. But the Juan Soto contract has kind of taken them off the hook for that. Because Juan Soto, as everyone loves to point out, really only does one thing well, and that's hit. Like, he doesn't run well, he doesn't field well, he certainly doesn't pitch. So, like, if the Mets can pay him what they're paying him, like, you can totally be okay if you're the Dodgers just paying Shohei Ohtani to hit, because he runs too. Like, I don't think they have to worry about that anymore, which is just furthers my gut feeling about one day in the short-term future of him just being hitter only. But, as of now, I'm sure that he's not doing this ramping up for no reason. I think they'll use him in the pitching capacity at some point in some way. I don't really have a read on how it's going to be right now.
Yeah, and the only thing that's keeping me thinking he will pitch, because I agree with you 100%. If I'm the front office of the Dodgers, I don't let the guy take the mound ever again, honestly, especially what we saw with the labrum tear. I know it was in his non-throwing shoulder last year while stealing a base during the World Series. I don't want to risk this guy going out there and hurting himself if it affects his offense. He's so elite. As we mentioned, Judge, Ohtani's up there. I mean, the two of them is interchangeable as faces of baseball as far as offense go. He doesn't need to pitch. Dave Roberts came out during pre-game, post-game, wherever it was, saying Ohtani still wants to pitch. So maybe they're appeasing him in some way, like, okay, yeah, do your thing, get warmed up. We'll see if you have it. And as you said, they'll use it as a special attraction. If they're in a winner-take-all game 7, they need someone to come out there and fire out there. Nothing to lose. If he gets hurt, it's the end of the season. He can certainly get worked on during the months that you have off in the winter. Then you throw him out. But to me, like, what's the point? Especially when you have the embarrassment of riches that they do in the rotation, and he's so elite. Bouncing two roles doesn't seem feasible to me. I mean, again, he wants to do it. I get it. But to me, if I'm the front office, you're paying him a lot of money to do one thing, and that's hit the ball at the ballpark.
Yeah, right now in my mind, the only thing he should be doing with his arm is putting it around his buddy Roki and pepping him up a little bit, man. Like shake him out of it, because Roki Sasaki is, or as our friends at the DSG Divine Sports Gospel, those Padre fans like to call him Roki Sasofty, certainly not helping his cause with some of the pictures and images that have coming out after his last start. I mean, what do you make of Roki and his struggles these first two games or these first two starts, and not only his struggles, but how he has seemingly reacted to it?
Well, I mean, this is adversity he's facing. We see this happen with international players that just dominate. And Roki Sasaki is not just a pitcher coming over. This dude was a phenom in Japan. He was pretty much elite, pinpoint command all through being in the MPB. He went out there and dominated all throughout his run there. And for him to go out there, and we see this happen time and time again, players get humbled by major league hitting. His second MLB start was frustrating for him. 1 2/3, 2 earned runs, 3 hits, 4 walks, and 2 Ks, 61 pitches thrown, only 32 for strikes, which is not him. And after the game, Roki was candid about his issues. He told reporters, overall, I didn't feel like I had a great feel for my mechanics. And the lack of command that we saw from him was evident. He seemed like he was, I wouldn't say rusty, but he definitely wasn't sharp. And that wasn't what we see. If you watch the highlights of Roki, he was poised. This is a guy who went out there and threw strikes. He couldn't locate consistently. He failed to find a rhythm. And I thought that was interesting because this is a guy who felt like he was almost melodic with the way he was pitching, and he was able to just stay within rhythm. And the walks are adding up. And we put this together on here. Only 48.7% of those 117 total pitches across those two starts have been strikes, 9 walks in just 4 2/3, which is a massive departure from what we saw in his MPB days, which he was just averaging 2 walks per 9. And this doesn't seem like it's physical. It feels like it's mental and mechanical. And you posted the picture in our group chat, and I saw everyone's going around showing it, that Roki was crying in the dugout, emotional, feeling overwhelmed, and again, facing adversity for the first time, really probably likely in many years. This is a young player that dominated. It just came so easy to him. My take on this is it's gonna take adjustment, but I think at the end of the day, it will make him a better pitcher because to me, he's growing as a person. He obviously cares. He wants to win. He wants to do well.
Right.
It's not just about the money. Clearly, he's entered the league at minimum. Essentially, he could have waited and got a big contract like Yamamoto did. This is a guy that needs to reestablish confidence. And the Dodgers, as we mentioned with Shohei, the theme continues at Roki. There's no pressure for this guy to dominate or be the guy you need him to be. Of course, he wants to be, but there's no real panic from the Dodgers. I mean, his raw stuff, elite upside. We see it come out there. The command and consistencies aren't unusual for young pitchers that make the jump, whether it's from international or from the minor leagues. And LA is deep enough to give him time to adjust. And I think they're going to be patient with him.
Yeah, no pressure from the outside. He's clearly putting pressure on himself. You watch this dude, and like he admitted to being very nervous in his first game in Tokyo, and then last night, clearly he's a little tight here. I think there's something to be said to let him go down to Oklahoma City for a little while. Like, why not? And just dominate a little bit and bring him back up. But he's clearly feeling the pressure. The only thing that worries me a little bit is there was that quote from his agent during the whole recruiting process of like, maybe he'll want to pick a small market. I mean, it was all bullshit in the end, but like maybe he wants to pick a small market because he didn't like how the media was treating him in these different places and things like that. He doesn't love that attention. So there is that stands out a little bit. Like, thank God one of the New York teams didn't get him, because like, or Philly or something, he'd be eaten alive right now, where LA is kind of like, we're winning anyway. We're undefeated. We're World Series champions. We have an all-star team. Like, Roki, it's okay, but I wonder what their plan with him is. Like, if he keeps on going out there and walking the ballpark, like, how long do you let him do that before you send him down and just let him calm down? He's still such a young kid. Basically still is a prospect. Like, if you look on prospect lists, is like the number 1 prospect on most people's lists. So he still is in that territory. But like you mentioned, like, this is not him. Like 2 walks per 9, overseas, and we've seen highlights of him all over the place. Like, his stuff is still incredible. I think it just reminds me of a lot of guys that have success, say in AAA, come up and then just try to be too careful, like don't want to get shelled. So instead of trusting the stuff that got them there, they feel like they have to pitch differently, pitch around the edges, like a little bit afraid to come in the strike zone, because it's not like he's giving up tons of hits and like deep shots over and over. He's just walking tons of guys and letting them kind of manhandle him because of that, and he just can't stay in the game. There is also something to be said. Like, there's a million different ways you could go with this conversation. To me, it's what I just said. It's the putting pressure on himself, not trusting his stuff enough, and maybe just feeling those nerves still. Like, big market, there's so many eyes on the Dodgers, like crazy amounts of eyes. But the other thing is, and I haven't heard many people talk about it, I feel like most of the time a pitcher comes over from Japan, there's talk about getting used to the grip of the ball. And I know with Kodai Senga, as a Met fan, I heard a lot about that. Like, is he going to be able to throw that ghost fork with the different kind of feel of the ball? And obviously he was able to, but like, it took him a little time. Like, he's a guy who has struggles with control a little bit overall. But Yamamoto had a rough first start last year and then kind of got it together. But it could be just that you're getting used to the ball. The only thing that worries me about is injuring yourself, because if you start throwing the ball differently, and he mentioned mechanics, because you're not having success, that's where you usually get hurt. Max Scherzer just talked about this, and we're going to talk about him later when we just go through a couple notable injuries. So I'll save that. But like, when you change one thing, it can just lead to a lot of other things. So there is that waterfall effect that I worry about a little bit. But for the most part, I think there's a lot of different ways the Dodgers can handle it. There's no rush. The kid is so young. He's clearly got unbelievable natural talent there. You just got to get his head screwed on right. And all the talk for a long time now has been how the Dodgers are the best at all that stuff, right? So if that's true, we're going to see it. It's just a matter of when. As a fantasy owner, with a very rough start for my team overall, not just Roki, I'm hoping it gets figured out sooner than later. But again, I think they got to find a way to convince him or train him a little bit to handle that pressure a little differently, because it's not going to go away. Like, it's not going to go away. He's just going to have to kind of internalize it a little differently.
I'd imagine that we're going to see a mystery ghost IL stint somewhere down the line. Instead of sending him down to Oklahoma City, I think they're going to put him on with forearm sore, whatever. They're going to put him on the IL for 15 days and let him just
Billy
rest.
Epler.
Yeah, do a little bit of that and kind of reconvene and come back and hopefully get right, and maybe work with the coaches over there in some solidarity instead of having him sit on the bench and worry about his start every 5 days. Just get his head right. Let's talk about the Mets here. I'll let you lead the way really in the conversation. Off to a sluggish start offensively at this point. Looked a little lifeless in their Astros lost game 3. Questions are starting to build, and it's New York, of course, and the start they got off last year is way worse than this, of course. They look flat at the plate, mustering just 5 runs, 12 total hits in the series. Really, Sunday's finale, or I should say Saturday's finale, they should have had a game today. Only 1 hit, a Juan Soto double off the wall, which accounted for their lone run. Lindor remains hitless through 3 games, and the team hasn't scored more than 2 runs in any game so far. So, big picture for you, is it early or is it just flat out alarming?
It's early, and I don't think it's alarming. I really dug into this one. So I'm going to take you through a few thoughts. But the first thing I'll say is just, and I've said this leading up to the season, like, if last season taught us anything, it's that it's a long season. Like, as Mets fans, like, we were declared dead several times last year, and we declared ourselves dead early and often. So there are a few things that reassure me. Number one, Framber Valdez in the first game was just lights out. This guy was great. Like, any team would have had trouble mustering a lot of offense. Went 7 against us. Just looked fantastic. Typical Framber. Looked in top form. We did a little damage against Hunter Brown. Probably could have put some more runs up, but he did a good job of wiggling out of some things. But overall, like, Hunter Brown is a very talented pitcher. So to get the best of him, that was solid. And then Spencer Arrighetti, who was back and forth, he would light up the world with strikeouts on some nights and then get shelled other nights. Like, he was the good version of himself on Saturday night. And we kept ourselves in the game. But here's what I looked into. There was a stat after the game I saw somewhere on X about how the Mets were just miserable trying to hit the fastball. And it stuck out to me because I thought back to our interview with Jared Sandler and him looking back at last year's Texas Rangers struggles after the World Series win, like, World Series hangover. And a big part of that conversation was how awful the Texas Rangers were hitting the fastball in 2024. And that's why they made some of the moves, the Jock Petersons, the Jake Burgers of the world in the offseason that they did to try to hopefully be better hitting the fastball. And in my mind, like, you got to be able to hit the fastball to be a solid offense. Like, you got to do some damage against it. Even though these guys throw a million miles per hour, like, some of these breaking pitches are insane. So I wanted to dig into Saturday's stats, specifically fastball, and see if there was anything to it, anything that we should see as concerning as Met fans. So this is what I found here. Be patient here. And if you don't really care about this, fast forward just to the next segment because I'm going to
No,
dig
I
in a
don't
little
fast
bit.
forward. Listen to all of it. Devin is preaching to Mets choir. You need to all enjoy.
Don't fast forward. Just put the 1.5x speed on, and I'll go faster naturally. So the Mets saw 48 fastballs in Saturday night's game. Only 9 of them were put into play. All of them were outs. Okay. There were 11 called strikes, 9 foul balls, only 3 swinging strikes, 16 balls called. So only 32 of these fastballs out of the 48 were in the zone, and they took 11 of them for strikes. My concern was, are they being too passive on fastballs in the zone? Are they not being aggressive enough on fastballs in the zone? And when I looked at that, I'm like, well, I need something to compare it to, right? Because I really don't know unless I compare it to something else. So again, 32 fastballs in the zone, took 11 of them for strikes, looked at 11 strikes. 34% of the time, they were looking at fastballs in the zone. That's what that adds up to, 34% of the time. So they barely swung and missed at the fastball, but lots of foul balls, which early in the season, timing's just a tiny bit off. To me, that's not a concern if that's the case. Like they're swinging at it, they're fouling it off, they're right on it. Okay, that can be something, batting practice and just playing night in and night out, that little by little hopefully corrects. 18.7% of the fastballs that they saw were put into play. All right, let's compare it to something. First team I compared it to was the Astros, their opponent. Okay, the same night. The Astros only saw 33 fastballs from Mets pitching, so 15 less than the Mets saw. 4 of them were put into play, all outs, similar to the Mets. Okay, 7 called strikes, 7 foul balls, 0 swinging strikes, 15 balls, so 18 fastballs in the zone. 12.1% of them were put into play, which was less being put into play than the Mets had. Mets were at 18.7% put into play. All right, so I wanted a little more comparison, but so far, don't see any reason for concern as far as aggressiveness and things like that at the fastballs in the zone. So what better team to compare it to than the Yankees, who absolutely went bonkers on offense that same day? All right, so let's see what the Yankees did against fastballs in that 20-run game. They saw 40 fastballs, so 8 less than the Mets did the same day. 7 of them were put into play. 3 of those resulted in runs. 1 resulted in a hit without a run, and 3 resulted in outs. But a similar percentage were being put into play, a little higher percentage put into play, and just better results. Okay. 11 called strikes. So they took the same amount of fastballs for strikes as the Mets did in even less chances. So the whole thing not being aggressive enough, at this point, I feel like you can throw that out the window. Only 3 swinging strikes, which is the same as the Mets, 5 foul balls. So less foul balls, so a little more on it, right? Timing's a little better. The only thing this shows to me is the Yankees made more consistent, solid contacts. Nothing about being too passive or anything like that. Some of that could potentially be blamed on the batters, but it could also be credited to the pitchers that they're facing, right? Whether it be location, pitch mix that's throwing you off rhythm, off timing, velocity, spin. So like the conclusion there is I didn't find anything with the fastball situation to be concerned about, especially so early. Now, if this continues to happen and they're just not getting any hits on the fastball, we can look into it. But like nothing you dig into there makes me like, oh man, they can't hit the fastball this year. Like I think that's super just jumping the gun. No reason for concern. Other things that kind of make me relax a little bit. The Mets lost 2-1 in the conclusion. And it was a very back and forth game. They had the tying run at second with 2 outs against Josh Hader. And Mark Vientos absolutely laces a ball 107.8 miles per hour exit velocity with Soto on second. It just happened to go right at the shortstop. That ball had a 750 expected batting average. 750. So 75% of the time, Mark Vientos probably just tied the game. And maybe the Mets go on to win, and we're having a whole different conversation and feeling today. So like a lot of these things just kind of make me relax a little bit. There's other things. I mean, the Braves in their first 3 games scored. Actually, no, sorry. Now 4 games. In their first 4 games have scored 7 runs total. Are we going to say the Braves offense stinks? Look up and down the lineup at the names there. Like it's things like this happen. Teams go in hot and cold streaks, whether it be beginning of the season, middle, or end. And last but not least here, Lindor is a notorious slow starter. We were used to this. I wish he could get off to a fast start, but he's done this before and ended up kind of where he needs to be at the end of the season. He was the runner-up for MVP last year. Like these things happen. Alonso and Nimmo are notoriously streaky guys. Soto looks like Soto, so that's good. And despite the lack of offense, there's a lot of things to be happy about as a Met fan if you allow yourself to be happy. Starting pitching, which, by the way, Clay Holmes, Tyler McGill, and Griffin Canning, not exactly a list of a bunch of perennial all-stars. We're very, very solid. 15 and a third innings pitched, only 5 earned runs combined. The bullpen has been great. 0 runs so far in a good amount of work. Edwin Diaz in his save looked very good and very confident. You love to see that because he is always such a huge X factor on this team and in this division. Love to see that confidence. He admitted last year he had lost his confidence, so I want to see that confidence stay. And the defense, which was a problem early in the year last year, only 1 error so far. So, like, there's lots of positivity there. I don't see any glaring signs of panic, and it's super early.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's a cold 3-game sample, and you could take any of these samples from middle of the season and no one panics. They lost 2 out of 3. You move on and you just go on to do something different. And aesthetically, looking at the 0-4 Braves, especially where they're at, like, I think there's some panic on Georgia radio. Like, for Monday morning, people are like, I'm feeling kind of bad. But there's nothing more predictable than people overanalyzing opening weekend. They're going to look at the season stats from where we are because it's jarring, because it's new, but there will be stretches of the season where the Mets win 7 of 10. There are also going to be stretches where they lose 7 of 10. That's how it goes. This is baseball. It's a war of attrition. And like you said before, a lot to take out of that opening series against a team that pitched well against them. And that's what it is. And there's a team that's going to win 2 out of 3, and there's a team that's going to lose 2 out of 3. And the Mets happen to be on the other side of it. It was a close game. And the one thing I have to say, I mean, Soto looked like Soto. And you look at that, and he went out there and showed some pop in his swing. I don't think this is even an early season funk. I don't think there's any structural concern to this lineup. This is just baseball, Susan. This is exactly what it is.
Yeah. And we're not a numbers podcast or analytics, but how about those numbers, rates and barrels? Yeah, eat your heart out right there. We got some numbers here at Tablesetters too. But yeah, I mean, it's in the words of Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Like, let's just enjoy the season here. Like, it's just getting started.
All right. Well, we have some other opening weekend shockers to talk about. The Cardinals swept the Twins. The Padres stunned the Braves. Now 4-0. The Padres as well. A lot to talk about here. But let's start with the Cardinals, your favorite team over here. They swept the Twins behind a bounce attack and some sharp defense. And of course, coming into the season with low external expectations. I mean, even the goddamn fans didn't show up to St. Louis to watch the game. The Cardinals did make a strong statement by sweeping the Twins over there and scored 19 runs, hit 5 home runs, of course, playing elite defense, committing just 1 error, got 11 innings of 1-run ball from the bullpen. And Nolan Arenado, who I just picked up in fantasy because I had some injuries over there. I picked him up. He led the way offensively. He looks locked in at the plate right now. And we know the Gold Glove caliber defense. He could do that in his sleep at third. And that's what the Yankees need instead of having Pablo Reyes out there at third, where he made majority of the errors. But I digress. The Cardinals look sharper than I expected. I'm sure a lot of people out there, they were aggressive on the bases, opportunistic at the plate, fundamentally clean baseball. They went out there and did their thing. Do I think that they're going to win the Central? Do I think they're going to be a team that plays this level of baseball all year? Hell no. I mean, I still think that they're going to be finishing in near the bottom of the NL Central, but there's got to be a little bit of a hint, like with a little more edge and cohesion than the projections can suggest here. So it's nice to see them coming out there and playing motivated baseball.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, hit some home runs, 19 runs total in 3 games, really good defense. People are saying like web gems all over there. It's interesting seeing Arenado get out there and still be accepted by the fans and kind of looking really good, turning back the clock a little bit. Like, that's huge for them. Nolan Gorman had a nice game today, 3 for 4 with a home run. Like, you got to remember, this team has some post-hype prospects that if they can find it again, like, it's a whole different feel. Am I going to buy into that right now? No, it's 3 games. But, there is that to be said if they play a little looser, and they are the kind of team who I think can benefit getting off to a hot start and just finding that confidence. Who knows? They pitched really well. Like, Eric Fetty was great in the second game of the season. So they have some things to hang their hat on. Bullpen, I mean, Ryan Helsley back there, if they don't trade him away, is one of the best closers in the game. So Victor Scott is interesting now, who called up last year and struggled. This year looked good in spring, can light it up on the base paths. So if you're a Cardinal fan, like, you got to be happy with what you saw. Like, it is basically the same team that they fielded last year. But if they can stay a little healthier and just play more up to some of the potential that these guys have, they could make a little more noise in the NL Central than either you and I thought.
Yeah, I mean, all 1,500 fans in the stadium went wild. I'm sorry.
The rest of the fans were working with their PR teams to try to like keep on going with the best fans in baseball marketing campaign. So like,
Yeah,
I think they just were stuck at work with the PR campaigns.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. It's interesting too because we talk about teams that benefit from getting off to a hot start, and I think no team outside of the San Diego Padres could benefit more than that. And feels like the vibes are really high in San Diego. The weather's nice. You got obviously Divine Sports Group leading the way, playing the trumpet and carrying people along for this ride. They swept the Braves, man. Sunday Night Baseball was the finale on the West Coast. The Padres opened up, doing their thing here. A team widely considered one of the best in baseball. Outside, of course, they're in that division. It feels like they foregone conclusion that they're going to play second fiddle to the Dodgers, but they got standout performances from who you want. Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr. They came out red hot, and Merrill's bat was a difference maker at the bottom of the lineup. Tatis showed signs of returning back to that 2021 form, power, speed, everything you want from him. And the pitching, man, they kept Atlanta in check. The lineup couldn't do much, which is no small feat considering the firepower. You mentioned the amount of runs they scored. It wasn't a lot. So San Diego's pitching depth is still a question mark long-term, of course, and we don't want to overreact, but looking at the standings, when you're 4-0 playing the Atlanta Braves, I think anybody in San Diego in that fan base would have signed for this. And it shows that the offense can carry the load when everybody's clicking. And it's the best lipstick. It's the best deodorant on sometimes when things are weak in the lineup or on the team. When the offense is scoring, you don't need the best pitcher to go out there and do their thing. But they kind of got the best of both worlds this series, and you couldn't have asked for a better opening weekend for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, we're giving the Cardinals fans a little crap for not showing up opening weekend. San Diego fans, man, like they were going nuts at Petco. But yeah, you mentioned it. Fernando Tatis Jr. off to a crazy start, 467 so far through 4 games. Jackson Merrill, same thing, 462 through 4 games. Gavin Sheets, new acquisition, who the DSG refers to lovingly as Dairy Bonds. Dairy Bonds is hitting 364 so far. Like if they can turn him into something, that we're talking here. And they're doing all this with Luis Arias so far hitting 0 through 4 games. So I mean, there could be more to come here as someone like him chips in. Manny Machado hitting 231 so far. Obviously, all small sample sizes, but you mentioned it, man. The pitching, everyone just basically talks about Michael King and Dylan Cease like having to win every game they start for the Padres to hang around the Dodgers. Randy Vasquez, 6 shutout innings yesterday. And then Nick Pivetta, another new acquisition, 7 innings of 1 hit ball, no runs, 4 strikeouts, which is a low strikeout total for him. So maybe he's changed his game a little bit, be a little more efficient. That's 7 innings, 1 hit ball, only 82 pitches to get through 7. Like that's fun stuff because they still have Jason Adam back there. They have Estrada back there. Like they have plenty of bullpen back there, even though it's not the all-star bullpen. Maybe it was last year when they had Tanner Scott as well. But Jeremiah Estrada getting well, I guess it wasn't a save because it was a 5-0 game tonight, but getting 3 strikeouts in the 9th to end the game on 13 pitches. 3 strikeouts and 13 pitches against the Atlanta Braves. Man, that's a hell of a start for San Diego. I got to be honest, I'm happy for them.
No, absolutely. It was entertaining to watch. You mentioned the fans showing up. It was remarkable to see out there, and it's a vibe. I mean, the San Diego Padres bring a vibe. It's a fun time out there. But moving over here, that's not a vibe, is Rafi Devers and his rough start. He made headlines this offseason with being unhappy, didn't want to move from third base, and Alex Cora said, well, you know what? Guess what? Alex Bregman's here. Pack your bags. You're the everyday DH. And it's the first weekend of the season. Again, we don't want to overreact, but this is what the podcast is about. We're going to have conversations, but Rafi Devers has already made some unwanted history. He's the first player in MLB history to strike out 10 times in the first 3 games of a season. So now if you're keeping score at home, Devers is 0 for 16 at the plate, 12 strikeouts. And right now, I saw you put in our notes, he's on a 540 strikeout pace. If we're having fun with small samples, of course, the MLB record, as you know, is 223. So we don't think he's going to keep that pace up, but we have to at least make the connection with the red line and the red dots here that he's not playing third base, and he was unhappy about it. Alex Cora made it clear, as I mentioned before the season, that Devers won't be playing third at all. He's the everyday DH. No signs of that changing, which adds pressure for him to produce at the plate. He's a guy who prides himself on defense, and right now you can't balance it out while okay, I started over 16, but I'm playing some good Gold Glove defense at third. He's not doing that. He can't. It's all about the offense. So mentally, it's an adjustment for him. So I guess the question we need to ask right now and have the conversation, is this just a slump or something bigger? Because we know everybody slumps. Elite hitters go out there and start the season slow. You mentioned Lindor getting off to a slow start. This is historically bad, of course, and we can wash this away one good week and we watch Judge do the same thing. Devers isn't making much contact, though. It's early, few hard hit balls. I mean, you can flip that narrative, as I mentioned, but the swing and miss rate right now is jumping off the page. And especially for a guy expected to anchor that Red Sox lineup, he's the guy that was the expected. We all thought they signed him as the guy they chose to build around, right? Outside the young players that came in, he was the guy that they decided to keep, lock up long term. Everybody else was allowed to go. At the very least, 1-3. There's going to be conversation on Boston Sports Radio about this all throughout the week if he doesn't get off started. Because starting the whole 0-16, it's hard to jump out from that. If there's anyone capable, he can. But some of the advanced stats are jumping out at me.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So MLB Now on MLB Network has done this segment before called Concern, Panic, or Doom. Like either one, any choice is a negative connotation, but absolutely at least concern, like bordering on panic if we go another week of this type of performance here, because there is background to it. If we all thought he was happy and there was no stories before the season about a little controversy with how he was going to contribute to the team, I think everyone just write this off as like, oh, really bad start for Rafi. Like, all right, turn the page. What's next? But we're not sure if he's happy. I got to give ourselves a little pat on the back. When we did our AL East X Factors, we put out little companion videos for each episode with one X Factor per team. I put Devers, and not as the obvious of like he's the big bat in the lineup, more so of like this offense should be really good. But if Rafi is unhappy and mentally not there, that's a big concern if we have drama in the clubhouse throughout the season. And he even admitted, like, or some story came out that said he almost asked for a trade at some point from the Red Sox. So for me, I'm a bit worried. I know there's some Red Sox fans out there saying like, stop all this stuff about him being like mentally not there or upset, so not trying his best or just pressing too much as a DH, that he's hurt, that there's an injury going on. Well, I'd say if he continues this abysmal performance for another week and he's not IL'd, I think you got to put that aside. If he's hurt and he's performing that badly, the obvious thing would be put him on at least the 10-day IL and figure out what's going on. But to me, until I hear some news of that, if the struggles continue and he doesn't break out with like a big home run in a few games from now, I do think it's a concern. And I don't think it's a hot take or just trying to get buzz here. But like, there's something to be said for an athlete that is upset. And I think we've all been there before in some place in our lives where we are either told or asked to do something that we're not happy with. And it can take a little while to shake it off and kind of get back to business and get back to the kind of person you really are. It can really mess with you. And some people more than others. Some people have a little more trouble letting things go. Like, there's probably people out there that be like, Rafi, you're still getting paid millions of dollars now to do even less, and you're upset about it. But I get it. Like, if that's part of his identity, it doesn't matter if we think he's a good third baseman, if the Red Sox think he's a good third baseman, if the way Alex Cora went about it rubbed him the wrong way, this might be a long-standing, like, bitter taste in his mouth that affects his game. Like, for some people that tough love can work, right? Like, no, you're not playing third base. You're playing DH. You're our DH. And basically also said, like, on Bregman off days and things like that, he's still not in the third base mix. Like, other guys are going to get time there. There's a strong part of me that thinks there's something deeper going on here with Devers. Like, this is a premier hitter that has just gone 0 for 16, and not just a regular 0 for 16, and 0 for 16 with 12 strikeouts, a record-setting 10 strikeouts in the first 3 games. So if you're asking me if I think there's something going on there mentally or drama-wise in the clubhouse, I absolutely do.
No, yeah, it feels that way. And again, the conversation, like you mentioned, the bedside manner of Alex Cora, that's not what he's known for. He's a guy that players rally around, but he's certainly not a guy that's going to cater to your emotions. And that works for some players. But as you mentioned, Rafi Devers made it clear he didn't want to move from third base. And this is going to be an issue all season unless they can make it right. Like I said before, winning is the best deodorant. if they start to win and everyone vibes. But, you signed Bregman, which felt like, and again, when we talked about this in the offseason, this was an obvious issue that was going to be coming up. The one thing is third base was a slot that you knew you had, and the obvious thing was to ask Bregman to switch because Devers has been there. And like we said, you invested in this guy while you let other players walk away. I mean, for God's sakes, you traded Mookie Betts and decided to keep Devers. And not that they are interchangeable. You did one without the other, but this is a team that's ready to move away from players without investing so much, of course, because they're trying to do things financially responsibly. And they decided Devers is their guy. He is a guy who is one of the best hitters in baseball as well. I don't think he's this player, but if you take away something that makes him happy, you may see more of the bad side of Devers than the good. And it just feels like it's counterintuitive for a Red Sox organization that has so much invested in him. Like, why would you be punitive, even on his off days, to not allow him to play third? I feel like that's a really good concession to make of saying, yeah, this is Bregman's job, but he's on the day off. You could play third every once in a while. To stick your feet in the ground and say, no, not at all, just feels, again, like you're just playing games with the guy.
Yeah, I mean, the good news, I'm sure the Boston media will probably just leave him alone, right? Like, they're not going to.
Oh, exactly.
Not going to poke the bear.
Nothing better than like the brick wall behind them with the Dunkin' Donuts logo where they're just ripping on players. And I mean, it's going to happen sooner than later. So Boston, Philly, New York, nothing like it. And luckily, at the end of the day, to wrap it all up together, we're lucky Roki's not there. We're lucky Roki's lucky he's not here. Just note about slow starts. Dylan Cruz also, he's scuffling. Nationals rookie, a lot of hype behind him. Quietly went 0 for 11, 8 Ks to start his big league career. Of course, the stakes are different for him just getting his feet wet, but just want to make note of it. There's a lot of expectation for Dylan Cruz, and adjusting to the major leagues is hard. Hitting is hard.
Yeah, another one of my fantasy dudes. Snap out of it, Dylan. Bailey Ober, another one of my guys. 2 2/3, 8 runs today. Like, let's go. It's a tough first week for me.
Well, we have some DeGrom news of here. Jacob DeGrom went 5 scoreless in his 2025 debut, and Jacob didn't get much run support from the offense, which is typical of DeGrom fashion, especially Met fans out there. Very familiar. I know you're familiar with DeGrom not getting any offensive help.
A little bit, yeah.
The Rangers did pick up the win, but after they blew the lead, DeGrom left with. He sat around 97 miles per hour. His finishing line was 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks, and more importantly for the long term is the 16 whiffs. He used the slider as an out pitch, which against right-handed batters while using the changeup versus left-handed batters. And he mixed in the curveball more than usual. So your initial take on DeGrom, I mean, we're all having high expectations if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, just good to see him, go out there at 5, look like himself. 97, it's interesting. Like 97 is a comfortable pitch for him. Like he knows he can go 99 and 100, but I think he's actually making an effort to like not go full effort every pitch. Justin Verlander used to be kind of famous for being able to save some, where sometimes his last inning of work would be his hardest pitches. And I wonder if there's a little bit of DeGrom after all the injury issues of being like, I'm actually still really effective at 97. Like maybe I don't need to reach back for that extra all the time. And he's maybe mixing his pitch. I just found the specifics of today's outing interesting to see. He may be kind of evolving to a new pitcher later in his career, like some guys do. Still dominant, still insane, but just being a little different about how he goes about things. So a good thing for the Rangers, obviously. As a DeGrom fan, excited to see the line he put out today. And 16 whiffs on Baseball Savant, that was the most whiffs of any pitcher today. At least before the Padres-Braves game. I'd have to recheck to see if Pivetta or anybody else beat that. But earlier today, 16 whiffs was the top number for today's game. So cheers to Jacob DeGrom. Hopefully more of that to come.
So looking at the 4 teams with real postseason hopes walking away from opening weekend winless, some teams out here we'll go through, and we talked a little bit about all the teams because we talked about the sweeps. We have the Braves 0-4. They took on the Padres. The Twins 0-3 versus the Cardinals. The Tigers 0-3 versus the Dodgers. The Brewers, of course, got lambasted by the Yankees and their Torpedo Bats 0-3. For you, Devin, who's the most surprising here? Are we on the same page here that it's the Braves? I mean, having the few excuses of the group?
So I think I'm surprised by every single one, first of all. I think every one of those teams, I would have guessed they would have gotten at least one in their series. I tweeted about the Tigers the other day, and I think the second loss against the Dodgers, where I strangely still really liked what I saw from the Tigers. Like if you watch those games, they still felt like those gritty Tigers who just hung around and knew how to stay in games. And plus, I really still like their rotation a lot. But yeah, if the question is who's the most surprising winless team, I mean, it's the Braves. They're not only 0-3, they're 0-4, and they just got shut out 2 games in a row. Whoa, like that's pretty nutty there. I know they're against the Padres, who are a solid team, but the 2 pitchers who shut them out, Randy Vasquez and Nick Pivetta, not Michael King and Dylan Cease. So they're I don't know. I don't think of the Braves ever as a team that presses and kind of is a little tight, especially beginning of the season. It's something that I do not think at all is a point of concern, but I just think it's very surprising. I expect them to bounce back and bounce back pretty quickly, but yes, very surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to talk about with these 0-3, 0-4 teams, but at the very least, you can lean on the fact that it is early and conversations will disappear if you can make it right. Just go out and win games. And the Braves are one of those teams that they're almost unanimous favored by a lot of podcasts and pundits out there to win the NL East because of what we saw. But again, got to remember a team, they made the playoffs last year, but there was a lot of adversity on their end. And now that they're finally healthy, similar to when you have these offensive slides in the beginning of the year, sometimes they start to build on each other. And if you, let's just say, lose 2 out of 3 the next series, and all of a sudden you're sitting there at 1-6, and you're like, this is kind of ugly, and we're getting there. So you don't want it to compound. Go out there, win 2 of 3, and all of a sudden it looks a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the numbers, like up and down the lineup, like literally nobody in that lineup is hitting yet. And like that's surely not going to keep up with a lineup with guys like Profar and Riley and Matt Olson and Ozuna and Albies and Michael Harris. Like that's not going to keep up. And Acuna is going to come back eventually. And the pitching wasn't terrible. Like it wasn't overly impressive, but it wasn't terrible. Like Sale didn't look like great Sale, but he was gritty enough to kind of give them something. Smith Shawver out there today only went 4, but only gave up 2 runs. Like I don't think there's anything glaring other than the offense just hasn't gotten going yet.
So, of course, injuries were the big topic of conversation in the offseason, and they continue throughout the season. And we have 3 ones to discuss here. Of course, starting with Max Scherzer from the Texas Rangers. He's got thumb inflammation, and the Blue Jays put him on the injury list on Sunday, a day after he made a forgettable team debut. And he's running 2 solo home runs in 3 innings against the Orioles before being removed in what the team initially called a right lat soreness. And then we heard Scherzer come out and talk about his right thumb inflammation. He's expected to see a hand specialist Monday, according to manager John Schneider. So you mentioned before about some of the grip and holding the ball differently. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so he in spring his thumb was bothering him on his throwing hand, and he basically said like, yeah, it was still bothering me, and I think that's just led to doing different things that eventually add up. The thing I find interesting about Max these last few years, and I go back to when he was with my Mets, he gives very thoughtful answers to these injury things, but there's a little bit of me that feels like it's a little overthought. And I then go back, and now I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but sometimes it comes out in everybody. There's a little bit of like that last year of Jacob deGrom with the Mets. He had that too, where it was like one thing after another. He'd pull himself from games sometimes when he'd feel a little bit. I wonder if Max, like that relationship got to him a little bit. Like Max is very in tune with his body, but maybe sometimes to a fault. And again, he's later in his career, so he may be even more protective of himself. But I don't know. I just wonder if that rubbed off on Jacob. And eventually, obviously, Jacob the next year needed the Tommy John. So maybe something was going on the whole time that he was feeling little by little. I don't know. But I mean, there is something to this. If your thumb's bothering you and you start gripping it the right way and then you're compensating with different body parts, like all of that makes sense. There's also a point like Max Scherzer is one of the only professional athletes that I can actually say is still older than I am. There's very few of those left nowadays as I continue to age. But we've all said this when the signing was done, right? The 1 year, $15 million deal from the Blue Jays. Like the Max Scherzer they're getting is a guy who every once in a while is going to turn back the clock and look like his old self and be dominant for 6 innings or so. But a lot of nights he's going to go out there and give up a bunch of bombs. And he's also going to be on and off the IL all season long, nagging injuries. And that's clearly what they're getting. And I think they knew that's what they were getting. I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's any surprise. But yeah, that's what they're going to get.
So we also have injuries to Josh Lowe of the Rays. He has an oblique. Grade 2 is what they're labeling as a strain. John Romano of the Tampa Bay Rays Times wrote it. And this is a more severe level of strain, which likely means he'll miss 6 to 7 weeks in a best case scenario, and multiple months in the IL is a distinct possibility, which is a blow to the Rays offense. Kind of sucks to hear that. And again, you hear oblique, and it's one of those things that will bug you all year if you get back. But initially, off the jump, 6 to 7 weeks feels like it's a lot.
Yeah, so it's more severe than the one he had last year. And last year he was out for months. Like it took him a while to get back. Now I think the one positive side is now that he's had it, he kind of knows what he has to do to deal with it. He's an athletic dude. But I mean, we just got finished with that interview with Ryan Bass, the Rays reporter, who brought Josh Lowe's name up a lot, saying like having him back full health, like you're gonna see what he's able to do. Because even when he came back last year, like he probably wasn't the full version of himself. Like it's a guy with speed, with a guy with power, can field well, he can do a little bit of everything. For them to be missing him is a big deal, and you have that on top of McClanahan. You're hoping it stops there because otherwise the Rays are going to start feeling like they have a little deja vu from last year, a little snake bitten again.
So we also had Gleyber Torres of the Detroit Tigers. His side is hurting him, and he's day to day. So he left Saturday's game with side tightness and sat out on Sunday. As of now, he's continued, as I mentioned, day to day. But the real thing is any lingering core injury is worth watching, especially for a middle infielder that uses a lot of those strengths and over there. So I originally saw this as a rib injury, and I was like going back. I'm like, was he hit by a pitch or something? But it seems like he just pulled something and he wasn't feeling right. Doesn't seem like he's going to have any time in the IL. They just let him sit on Sunday. I think big thing, we'll see if he's in the lineup early in the week for the Tigers.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he doesn't end up on the IL at some point. It is. I'm reading too. It apparently is a rib thing. I mean, he held it immediately after hitting that home run. Like you're gonna swing again and bother it again. Like to me, it's only a matter of time if you don't rest it the right way. Like Brandon Nimmo dealt with a little bit of this last year as well. Tried to play through it. It's a pretty tough one to play through. So we'll see. But I really like his fit on the Tigers. So it'd be a shame if he's out for a bit. But apparently no IL as of yet.
So you did post up some Twitter poll and conversation, and it got a lot of love, man. Over 100 plus reactions about the biggest overreaction of the Major League Baseball season thus far. And you and I made some overreactions thus far. Hopefully, we remain level headed. But give us your choices and some of the percentages that we found with our little poll here.
All right, yeah. So very interesting results so far. What is the biggest Major League Baseball overreaction so far? I kind of posted it as the game started on Sunday afternoon. So the weekend wasn't even over yet, and this poll is up for another 13 hours, it seems. So these results may have changed as you're listening to this. The choices were Rafael Devers can't hit. That's one of the overreaction choices. Juan Soto made a mistake, and I'm alluding to a lot of fans as they see the Yankees crushing the ball and the Mets struggling a little bit on offense 3 games in, saying like, so look at Soto, he looks so unhappy.
Soto liked the Instagram post, by the way, from ESPN that the Yankees hit the back-to-back home runs. He's still liking.
Yeah, I have no problem.
I'm just
I have
saying.
no problem with that at all. I mean, I'm sure there's some Met fans that are salty about that. So that's choice number 2 as an overreaction. Choice number 3 is the baseballs are juiced again, as we see some teams hitting the ball out of the ballpark a bunch. The Yankees, the Orioles, a few others, Dodgers. And I also gave a choice for other where they would, if they chose it, I'd like them to write in the comments what their idea was as a bigger overreaction. So this is pretty much split with the first 3 I gave. So 33% say Rafael Devers can't hit. That's the biggest overreaction. He'll be fine. 33% also for Juan Soto made a mistake, as that's being the biggest overreaction. 30% for the baseballs are juiced again. So like very all over. 4% chose other. And I'm going to look in the comments real quick. And here are the comments I got as bigger overreactions, according to these people. One, Heather said the Yankees are going to win the World Series. That's an overreaction to how well they're playing. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't hear anyone say that yet. I know Yankee fans are excited, but I haven't heard that far yet. Another one, Drew K, posted that Roki Sasaki, sorry, is a bust. That is the biggest overreaction he's heard so far. I think that's a good one. And then the other one, Ben Weaver, who I know he does a Braves podcast, right? Yeah, Tomahawk Talk, which is a very successful Braves podcast. Maybe we'll have him on here sometime to do a Braves-centric podcast. That'd be cool. He said Braves going from an all-time offense in 2023 to another all-time offense in 2025, just on very opposite ends of the spectrum. So he's basically saying people panicking about the Braves offense just being really bad is an overreaction. So thank you to those submissions. I don't know, for you, Steve, out of those that they wrote and the ones I gave you, does one stand out to you as the biggest overreaction?
I kind of want to tally in each one of them. I mean, I honestly feel like they're all overreactions. As far as the biggest, I feel like Devers can't hit feels like the biggest one to me. But I haven't really heard the Soto made a mistake, and I don't understand what the mistake would be.
Just a lot of
Why?
people saying he's like unhappy as a Met, like
Oh, I
by
mean,
facial expressions and stuff like that.
gotcha. Well, uh, yeah, and thank you for mentioning the Ben Weaver thing. I'm definitely going to check out the Tomahawk podcast over there because I want to keep a pulse on what's going on with the Braves. I mean, like I said
Of
before,
course.
Atlanta radio is going to be panicking. I'm curious what those close to the Braves are talking about the zone 4 start. Legitimately going to be listening to the latest episode because I want to see and get a very tangible result of how they feel coming off the weekend. That to me is the best part about these team centric podcasts is they provide insight right into the fan base, like sitting next to somebody at the game. So shout out to Ben Weaver. And like you said, try to get him on the show.
Yeah, I know that'll be something we'll try soon, I think. And I know he's been very successful. I see Tomahawk Talk in the top 250 pretty frequently. So Braves fans seem to trust him over there. He's a part of the Skipper's View crew, which is, I mean, they've been killing it. They have a lot of people that have just been doing really, really good work. So props to them. And I agree with you. I think all those are overreactions. The Devers one, obviously, if you listened earlier, I buy into a little bit. Not that he can't hit, like I can only put it in so many words on Twitter. They limit it. But I do buy into a little bit that he's struggling for reasons other than mechanics, basically. But I would say as a Met fan, Soto making a mistake to me is the biggest overreaction so far.
And it's a good poll, and shout out to everybody that voted over there. You guys can check us out on X and on Instagram at Tablesetters Pod. Follow us on those platforms. Leave a 5-star review if you can. It definitely helps us get along the way. But let's hop into the blind rankings section of the show here, where you have, and again, blind rankings is true. I have no idea what you're going to throw at me as far as the opening weekend best moments. All right, our boy Lenny, the MIT physicist, playing the organ over there, leading us into the blind ranking segment. He can do it all. He develops torpedo bats. He also plays the baseball organ. So thank you, Lenny.
All right. So as you said, blind rankings, we've done this a couple times before. Sometimes some of the ones that we've done in the past have been kind of long where we dedicated more of the show to them. This one's going to be a quicker one. I have chosen 5 moments over the opening weekend. And to be honest, I probably could have gone with a lot more. But I try to limit it to 5. So you will, as I give them to you, place them somewhere 1 to 5 without knowing what the other ones are, which makes it difficult and sometimes regrettable, easy for me to say. 1 being the best moment, 5 being still a very good moment, but at the bottom of the best moment list. All right. So 1 to 5 here. The first one I'm going to give you, and you can give me your ranking 1 to 5. Let's go with Christian Campbell's first Major League Baseball home run. Obviously, super high prospect. Put one out of the ballpark the other day. Where does that stand? 1 to 5 best moments of opening weekend.
I mean, I love Christian Campbell on my fantasy team. Invested a lot in him. I'm going to go with 4. I think it was quietly a really good moment. As you mentioned, a lot to be had there. And I'm hoping that others on the list will be a little above that, but I'll put it at 4 safely because I did enjoy it more so than others. I think I'm more subjective for Christian Campbell because of my stake in him for fantasy.
Of course, and that affects all of us. Roman Anthony, my fantasy boy, went 2 times deep today at AAA. So, maybe we see him sooner than later at the major league level, joining his boy, Christian Campbell. All right, the next one, and this one is another one that's tough for you not to be a little bit biased here. The Yankees, I'm just going to put it as this, the Yankees home run barrage. To you, obviously, and most people, the Saturday game is going to stick out. You were there. Judge's 3 home runs, a 4th on Sunday. Jazz 2 on Sunday, just lighting it up. 9 home runs as a team on Saturday. So the Yanks home run barrage, 1 to 5. Best moments, where do you put it?
Man, it's number 1 with a torpedo, sitting on top of the torpedo, heading through the ocean on a submarine. That is my number 1 going away. And like you said, on Saturday, I was at the game. I've never experienced something like I saw the offensive output. The weather was beautiful. It felt like this microcosm what baseball is about. It was a celebration. Beer was being thrown around the outfield in the opening inning. It was magic. And again, never saw anything like it. Torpedo bats aside, like holy shit, the offensive output was remarkable. The AL champs out there doing their damn thing. So again, subjective on my end, but that's number 1 with a bullet.
I did have that thought in my head, like this is have to be crazy for everyone in attendance, like what this feels like. The only thing I can think of is games that I've been to, like comparable. I think it was when the Mets were in the playoffs in 2015, I ended up making the World Series. I went to 1 game in each series, so NLDS, NLCS, World Series, and they won all 3. And it was the only World Series game they won, which was Game 3. But I think it was the game in the NLDS against the Dodgers, I'm pretty sure, where the Mets offense just went off. Like Cespedes hit a bomb, and it just felt like bomb after bomb after bomb. I think they put up 10 runs. Not the same. I mean, bigger moment playoffs, but maybe not as repetitive over and over. That's the only game that kind of stuck out my head as comparable. All right, so Yanks home run barrage is at 1. Christian Campbell's first major league home run is at 4. All right, the Marlins walked off 3 times. So just as a whole, the Marlins walk-offs against the Pirates.
Put them at 5. It was really awesome to see them do that, but don't want to give the ownership any sort of leverage. You guys did nothing in the offseason. Put you guys at 5. It was exciting over there, but got to put it in perspective. It was against the Pirates too, who are just a repeat offender as well.
Yeah, dude, the Pirates, man. Again, we're closer to North Shore 9 guys we've had on here today. Hopefully we've had on here this year. Hopefully we have on more frequently. Eventually they cover the Pirates great, and I could just feel their frustration as they were watching these games and tweeting. And it's just more of the same, seemingly, like wasting good talent and not putting enough talent around some of these ultra talented dudes. A shame, really. And you know what? If our boy Lenny apparently is in Florida now or in Miami, maybe we're going to see more of this from the Marlins. I mean, Griffin Conine launching opposite field home runs and robbing home runs. Like, I don't know. Maybe the Marlins are a little different than we all thought.
I would like to see the comparison of attendance for the Marlins and St. Louis this week. I want to see. I mean, maybe we can pull that up while we're on the air because I feel like it was close. I mean, the Marlins had a decent amount of people in the ballpark for opening day. It got bleak for the rest of the weekend. Right. St. Louis, man, was a desolate desert today. It was bad in St. Louis.
God damn. All right. So we have number 1 so far is filled by the Yankees home run barrage. Numbers 2 and 3 are still available as Christian Campbell's first home run is at 4 and the Marlins 3 walk-offs are at 5. All right, so the next one I'm going to give you, Dansby Swanson saves the Cubs bullpen by deking the runner, turning around third base, going to home, ends the game as it looked like the Cubs bullpen and Ryan Presley were about to melt down last night, as they did a lot last year. All right, so you have the 2 or 3 spot for Dansby Swanson playing Superman.
Watched this live last night. Give it a strong 2. It was exciting to watch. I love to give some love on outside the box picks over here. Sometimes it's not all about offense and doing those things like that. I thought Dansby Swanson is one of the smartest baseball players in the game, and I thought he showed it. The IQ was beyond during the finish of that game. Yeah,
a dude that any fan would love to have on their team. I would describe him as that. All right, so you have the 3 spot remaining, and that's going to go to Mookie Betts. His walk-off home run, it was his second of the game the other night after battling severe illness and at one point losing 23 pounds. Epic fashion, big-time walk-off, second of the game for Mookie Betts. So that's going to come into the 3 spot. So our final list here, coming in at number 5, 5th best moment of the MLB opening weekend, the Marlins walk-offs. Number 4, Christian Campbell's first major league home run. Number 3, Mookie Betts walking it off after severe illness. Number 2, Dansby Swanson plays Superman, saves the Cubs bullpen to get a win over the D-backs. And number 1, the Yankees home run barrage with the Torpedo Bats. Anything you regret there? Anything you would change knowing what you know now?
I'd like to swap Mookie to be number 2. I think that's more remarkable what he did, especially fighting what he did. When I saw he had walked off, I was like, good for Mookie, dude. Like,
I didn't even think he was going to play this weekend. Like, I thought he'd be IL'd. Like, let the dude get some weight back.
I love
he's eating during the games.
Mookie Betts.
How can you not? Yeah,
is the real deal. That guy's a gamer. You want to build around your team? It's Mookie Betts.
Yeah, true.
You suck, Boston. It's true. But yeah, I looked at the attendance here. So, and again, it's hard to match. Like, these are gated ticket people. So 15,000 and change for the Marlins today. 26.9. I don't know if that's true for the Cardinals. And maybe that picture was from maybe from like middle of the game, but they were up, by the way, too. They went 3-0. It's not like they had any reason to leave the ballpark. I don't know.
I would want to know how many people the stadium fits. Like 26.9 is not a great number if it fits 45. I mean, I know ballparks are smaller now, but Busch is not exactly a new stadium.
Right. I mean, I pulled up the capacity right now for you guys. So as far as capacity goes, no, that's the Arizona Cardinals. Google, come on, get with the
come on, Google.
Yeah, St. Louis Cardinals 46,000 even.
Yeah, so you're missing 20,000 people, 20,000 seats.
for the Marlins, they hold 37,000 in that 15. So if we're looking
Yeah,
at, they're close. I mean, as
percentage.
far as like capacity and ratio to it, either way, show up for your baseball teams, put the jerseys on, crack a beer, and eat some food at the ballpark. Show up for your goddamn teams.
Yeah, I will say just very quickly, Peter Bendix, I think, was asked to respond about all the Sandy Alcantara like trade rumors, and his response was something along the lines of like, "It's only day 3." Like basically, like stop asking me if it's only day 3. This is the dude that traded Luis Arias on like May 4th last year, trying to be like, "Oh, it's early. Stop asking me this question." Like, get a grip, Peter.
I mean, if you look at the Marlins all-time roster, that just what they had at some point, we've done this exhaustingly at this point. The Yelich's, the Stantons, Jazz Chisholm, like the whole
Ozuna
list.
from the Braves.
Yeah, Ozuna from the Braves when he was on the Marlins. Uh, man, it's just insane for a franchise that allegedly develops these players well. They find these gems and then they can't keep them, and it's just frustrating. They want to operate like a small market team. Once Xavier Edwards blossoms into the player we know he's going to be, it's off to greener pastures somewhere down the line. But it is what it is. And I gotta also say, I know they removed that shitty statue in center field for the Marlins. That's an
Yeah.
ugly ballpark. That Lone Depot Park. It's so cookie cutter with no personality. Maybe it's because it's seen nothing but just bad baseball for the longest time. It just feels like a creative ballpark that you didn't get to finish in your video game. Like, oh shit, I just want to play the game and didn't finish it. It's a bad ballpark, is it not?
I don't love it. I don't think they have the fish tanks anymore. Like when they opened that thing, there was like fish tanks behind home plate, which was like, this is kind of weird, but also kind of cool. And then yeah, I think they got rid of a lot of the gimmicks. Derek Jeter came in there and was like, "We're gonna wipe this shit clean. You guys are gonna shave your beards and act like men." So I don't know. I mean, I will say though, you mentioned video game MLB The Show. I started my road to the show. I played for Cal State Fullerton. I got drafted in the 8th round. I decided to go to school, get some you know, more experience. Cal State Fullerton College. We went to the College World Series, but lost. Then got drafted, I think, in the 4th round. So I improved a little bit. Didn't kill it. Washington Nationals organization was stuck in Double A for a while, man. Like they really made me earn it. Triple A was very short though. Called up to the bigs, and I'm tearing it up in my first few games in the bigs for the Washington Nationals. Have you been? I know you have the show. Have you been playing road to the show? Or are you playing franchise? What are you doing?
I'm road to the show. I went through the college route. I was on the TCU Horned Frogs, and I got drafted in the 3rd round. I'm in the Yankee system actually,
Oh shit!
which
Now,
I
did you
think
try to get there?
I said I would prefer to. At first, I got
Yeah, yeah,
drafted by
yeah.
the Reds. Shozu went to college, and they said, "What team would you like to play for?" And I, picked the Yankees. And now I'm in AAA right now, doing my thing in Scranton over there. I visited Michael Scott, the office, and then playing baseball in my off time. And then I'm, waiting. I've been playing some games and trying to balance life while doing it. Not
Right,
getting to the
right.
major leagues yet, but I'm absolutely tearing it up right now in AAA.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
hoping that I get the call very, very soon.
All right. Well, good luck. Good luck.
It's good on the Wii, by the way, too. I had to buy an external hard drive
The
for the
Switch,
Wii.
right?
Sorry, I keep saying Wii. I'm the oldest person of all time.
Aging yourself.
Someone laughed at me when I said that. I was like, but yeah, for the Switch, and it has no storage on the goddamn thing, so you have to find a way to buy external. So I bought this huge amount of storage on one of the little like chips, and you put it in the side of it. And now I don't have to delete games when I play. So it is actually pretty good. A good investment, $20 for this like gigabyte of 20 gigabytes of storage that you put on there, and I can
Yeah.
download the show, which it has more it needs more storage than the initial console has to even put on it, by the way. Like you can't download the game even on an empty Switch, which is insane.
Right. I got the little disc. I got the hard copy still, like the OG stuff, but I also had to delete some stuff. I didn't have to buy any external stuff yet. But I'm guessing if I do enough different stuff, I'm usually a franchise guy, and maybe if me and you and some other guys that have the game next, I've never done online franchise for the show. I was big into that in Madden. But I'm doing road to the show first, but I feel like I usually eventually, once I reach the majors, then I don't know. I feel like I usually tail off a little bit on road to the show. Whereas franchise, I could do for like in terms of video game years, not real years. I could do for years and years and years and years
Oh,
and
for
years.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you could play cross console as well. So I played my
right.
brother. I think he has the Switch as well, but you could potentially play someone that's on PS5 on the Switch and it's able to adapt. I mean, we're living in some crazy times right now being able to do that. We used to have to play we used to do our Madden league that you're referencing, that we had the league. I had to be connected with an actual like LAN wire into the
Oh,
wall to
dude.
make insane. That Madden franchise was a lot of fun. They would create players, became heated. Your friend, my friend Joe, became very, very into it, and he had these players. I was the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I had some players that went the fuck off in that league.
Dude, we could do a whole podcast just on that league. I still remember a lot of the details, but you mentioned like the connection. I remember I got kicked off once when I was like beating our friend Rob, who was like undefeated at the time. My reaction, I was probably in my 20s. My reaction was like a little kid, like losing something or like not getting something that he wanted. I feel like I crumpled to the floor as soon as I got kicked off because no one could beat him at the time. Like I'm hoping our listeners have been there before where it's just it just hurts. I mean, it's different now, like you said. It doesn't happen like that
Oh, but it was
anymore.
so much fun. You would draft players, they would create names for you, and some of the players, like if you unlocked a player that had potential to be a superstar player, they were 65 overall, and then they all of a sudden turn into 85, 90 just overnight because they're that good, like a franchise quarterback would be. It was
Oh yeah.
awesome. It was
And
awesome.
just quickly to end that, like all these video games have to make like fake names for like once you get to a certain part of a franchise and like real guys retire and stuff. You gotta have fake guys, right? That version of Madden had the most elite made up names. We have Joker Jones, who I'll never forget. The fact that I haven't seen a real Joker Jones yet is crazy to me. LaRon James, LaRon. Like they were funny too. Tank Lockwood, which is a great name. And maybe my favorite, lefty quarterback number 15, Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow.
Amazing. So
Good
hopefully
stuff.
we can do something like that with the show where we can actually keep a franchise going. Not sure how head to head would work. Maybe you pick one game to play against each other every once in a while, but do your own seasons in succession and continue to play. But
Yeah.
it's fun, man. If we can get a couple of people together to do it. If you guys are out there and like to participate, maybe we'll start a table setters league over here and try to fill up some of the franchises over here. But let's come around third here, end our podcast, approaching 2 hours. And then we're out here and we're excited for opening weekend. We try to keep it high and tight, but all the excitement and exuberance took us over the limit. But let's come around third. All right, coming around third here, taking off the helmet with the waiting arms of all my teammates, walking off here. Man, I mean, keeping an eye on some of the rest of the season here. It's hard to pinpoint one thing, but I'm staying within my own local market, New York Yankees. Do the power numbers continue, and what kind of pace can we set for an extended period of time is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think everyone's gonna have their eyes on that. Like, see if they keep on just hitting the crap out of the ball. Everyone has their eyes on that. For me, it's the Metsies, man. I told you I'm not worried, and I'm not. But I want to see what happens when they go to play Miami starting Monday night here. A team that has momentum after 3 walk-off wins. I mean, that's quite a way to start a season, and the Mets are kind of looking for that momentum, get the ball rolling a little bit. We'll get Senga out there starting for the first time, which will be fun to see as well. David Peterson too. So like, I'm excited to see those guys pitch. Lost season for Senga last year. Peterson, his best year as a pro, and looked good in the spring. So I really want to see if that's just the dude he is now. And then on the college side, we haven't mentioned much college. Shout out to 2 of the teams that we keep a close eye on. My Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, my alma mater, taking another conference series against Elon today. They're getting towards the top of the CAA standings suddenly. And if just they can put up some numbers, man. I think they scored 17 runs today. They can hit. Pitching is a little shaky sometimes, but they can hit. And I know your Campbell Fighting Camels over there also suddenly winning tons of games, getting a little national coverage. Our friends at 11.7 giving them a little love. A couple other college accounts give them a little love. They're right there with Delaware at towards the top of the CAA. I think Northeastern is the only one on top of both of those teams. And it's funny, man. Season 1 of Tablesetters somehow led us to Mets and Yankees going very far in the postseason. It was just weird how that happened. And now we've gotten in this college bandwagon. Well, the Campbell Fighting Camels and the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, they close their regular seasons, playing each other. How crazy would it be if like those 2 are towards the top of the CAA standings fighting for a spot in the tournament as we get to mid-May when that comes? That'd be nuts.
No, for sure. And I've been following Campbell very closely. And again, shout out to Chris Marks. Go back in the archives and check out what we did over there, having a conversation with him. He was gracious enough to come on here, give us over an hour of time talking about the Campbell season and what to look forward to. An absolute fantastic interview. One of my favorites we've done thus far. they've started a run so far. We talked about UNC Wilmington. I feel like everyone talked about that team and the players on that team. They had a statement the weekend of the 21st and 22nd, then winning 2 straight against them, and then dropping that final game being essentially no hit. But to win 2 of 3 from that team kind of set the pace for them. And that's really what they've done at this point. They've just won series after series. And, they did the same thing against Charleston and going out there and doing their thing. And they're finding ways to win games and stay in the conversation, like you mentioned, making some national coverage. A lot of players that are pulling their weight. There seems to be a camaraderie, and they're exciting to watch. And they'll be around our neck of the woods in a couple weeks here. The plans do change, and if I'm able to, I want to head out to Stony Brook and check them out, taking on the Seawolves. I also want to head out to Bowie's Creek and go see a game over there. So I'm planning on checking them out and enjoying them. And if we do make it to Stony Brook, I know you're looking to go as well, saying hi to Chris Marks and saying what up, and potentially getting the picture we can post on social media, Twitter and Instagram alike. It's exciting, man. College baseball is awesome, and balancing Major League Baseball and all that goes into it while doing this, I wasn't sure how it would work, but thus far, my excitement level for Campbell still persists, even though Major League Baseball is back. So loving both of them, and I'm happy to be a part of the Campbell Camels fan base. So roll Humps.
Yeah, man, all good things. And also Coach Mams from Delaware's 200th win as they got that series win. And you mentioned, man, like Campbell, UNCW, and then College of Charleston, those are the 2 favorites in the CAA. So for them to win both of those series, like, it's a big deal. But we'll sneak some more college talk into these episodes as well. Who knows? Maybe we'll have another college-centric episode at some point here as the season gets closer and closer to a conclusion as we head to April. That's the college season. We're just starting MLB, but college feels like we're like just about halfway through now.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we haven't really discussed, and really not a lot of people are talking about in the circles that we're listening to, Texas A&M, what we're seeing from them, the foregone favorites in a lot of circles for college baseball. I mean, they've been more than disappointing. I mean, they jumped from being top of the heap to, at this point, just trying to stay afloat. I mean, they're drowning right now.
Yeah, and it doesn't get easier. Now they had to play Tennessee, maybe the real best team in the country. So, yikes.
So, again, if you guys want to support the show, please follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at Tablesetters Devin running the X machine over there. Help us get over 2,000 followers over there. We're looking forward. That's where most of the conversation happens. Some of the polls being posted, interactive conversations, like I alluded to. Instagram will post some of the episodes. There's links in there. And again, if you want to support us, again, leave 5-star review on Twitter. Some of the links are in the bio, but Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast, tell your friends about it. Join the fan base over here. Have conversations about baseball. No matter what team you are a fan of, we are covering them at length, having candid conversations. And again, continue to follow us, what we're doing here. If you are looking for dugout mugs, our fun friends over there, use code TS10 for 10% at checkout and save 10% on an order. Get yours for the season among us, and all good stuff ahead. Devin, it's been a pleasure, man. It's awesome that baseball's here. We're not talking about hypotheticals. We're talking about things that actually happen on the field. We've been waiting for this day, and here it is.
Yeah, man. Good start to season 2. This is fun.
So we'll be back later this week. I mean, Devin, do you want to announce who our guest is? Is it locked in for Wednesday? You want to talk about that? That's going to be dropping Thursday morning?
I would say it's 75-80% locked, just because I like to kind of recheck and people get busy and schedules change. But we'll probably be recording Wednesday night with Anthony Sanfilippo from what used to be the Crossed Up podcast, the Phillies podcast. They recently rebranded to, let me make sure I get this right here. Fightin' Words, a Phillies podcast. They have tons of followers there. So Phillies centric podcast, hopefully coming at you.
Hell yeah. We've been meaning to cover the Phillies. A lot of exciting things happening over there. Season kicked off, and we'll see what his barometer is later this week. So a bonus episode coming later this week, 2 episodes in a week, keeping that pace for you guys as we approach what is going to be a landmark 100 episodes in no time. But we will be back later this week with more content for you. Happy opening weekend. Enjoy the baseball, and we'll talk to you after a while.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible